What is up, Ludens? Welcome back to the Ludens Query Podcast. Today we are doing a review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I am one of your hosts, Moses, aka MojoCritical, and I am joined once again by my good friend Ricky, aka BaconBeercan. How are you doing, Ricky?
I'm doing fine.
What are you wearing there? What you wearing?
Some traditional Chinese outfit just to go along with our theme today. I don't know what this is called, by the way.
It's looking very, very, very traditional.
Very sharp.
I like how it looks. You look
kind of hard to see, but there's like dragons over here. It's actually kind of fancy.
Sheesh. All right. So made from dragon scales?
Although I have to make sure the camera only focuses on my upper body because I'm wearing shorts underneath.
That is awesome. I'm very glad that you are wearing that. This is obviously it's very fitting to what we're talking about today. I tried to do as much as I could. I'm rocking some Shang-Chi colors.
Only orange.
Oh. What happened? What happened to my screen?
Are you actually recording this time? Are you recording?
What happened to my Chrome? Sorry, technical difficulties. Not just my overlay. It's messed up.
I see.
Yeah. I could probably just edit that out. Or not.
Yes.
Who knows with this show? We're very amateur still.
Very unprofessional. Just do
Not very professional yet. Not at that level. But yeah, Shang-Chi. We're going to talk about it.
And maybe a warning for people watching this. This will be a spoiler. This will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen a movie,
spoiler review.
Don't watch this review yet.
Yes, we are giving you a chance to back out.
Yes,
if
you haven't seen it, we don't want a review. Come back when you've seen a movie.
Yes, I personally despise spoilers. I go out of my way to avoid them. I go into like complete blackout. I look at my popcorn during trailers before the movie starts. That's what I'm looking at.
That's dedication.
I don't even and after what I experienced this past weekend, now I got to bring headphones to the movie theaters.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but spoiler warning. We are going to talk about very specific things in Shang-Chi. And if you haven't watched it yet, and you want to know what we're gonna say, if you don't care, keep watching. But yeah, watch it first, then come back. Anyway, 3, 2, 1. Spoiler review starts now. Ricky.
All right, let's go. Okay.
Shang-Chi. I wanted to talk to you about this movie since I first watched it. And then I know you watched it on Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday, yes. I watched it.
I was about to message you and try to get your take on Shang-Chi. But I was like, wait. I think this is a good opportunity for us to do a review of this movie. What do you think of the movie? Give me your honest opinions on it right now.
Okay. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best Marvel movie. If anything, I would say if this is a standalone movie, I would actually like it better. But since this movie takes place within the Marvel universe, I found that there might be a few plot holes that doesn't really make sense.
Okay, we'll get into that.
And so let's go over a few things I liked and I don't like. So stuff I like, action is really good.
Yep.
Probably the best we've seen in Marvel, or at least right up there. Because I would say it's right up there with like Civil War, Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Yeah. Black Panther. Like it's, if anything, I would say like in terms of action, especially in the first 2/3 of the movie, the action is like right up there at the top. The last act when they're fighting all these demons, the dragon flying around, I found that a little cheesy. But overall, the action is very good. The biggest selling point for me, since like I grew up in Hong Kong, so obviously I'm a huge fan of Tony Leung, and seeing him as just getting a role in a Hollywood movie, it's brings a tear to my eye because he is a very underrated actor.
This is his first Hollywood movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job. Like it's better than I expected. And on that note, I think he might be the most interesting and most complex Marvel movie antagonist out of all the villains. Because even Thanos, like, he's got some very complex motives, but in terms of being like a character with like a clear cut, how should I put this? Like clear cut motivation that's driven by like raw emotions. Like he's there. It's there. Like he's clearly a bad guy, but at the same time, his motivations, it's driven by love, right? So that makes him a very interesting and complex character. Yeah. And how do you get that across, right? So that it's hard to get that across as the actor. And I think he did a really good job. Just looking in his eyes, damn, it's like if you think back to the last scene when he got snatched up by the big monster, he didn't say a single word. He just looked, give you that look, and you can tell everything you needed to. That is acting. That is like top tier acting.
Yes, 100% agree.
So like him, I guess it's not just the antagonist, just him. Him being in the movie is such a high point for me, and I hope it's same for everyone else because I really want him to get more recognition. And then the supporting cast is alright too. Katie, I believe that's her name, or Awkwafina.
Yep.
Her role as a comic relief, it's pretty on point. There are a few misses, but
it's
mostly
hits. If you want a list of the cast, that's why I shared the screen. I have like the cast list there. If you wanted to know the actors and the character names, if you're forgetting, so you want to stream it on the Discord.
Oh, nice. Yes, Awkwafina's character was it was good. A lot of the comedic moments she really delivered it. Well, I believe she's like a comedian. Before
I think so. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with her other works, but I'm pretty sure she's like at least a stand-up comedian or she's in comedy.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. Like there's like a small hint of like romance, but throughout most of the movie, they have like more like just a bro like friendship relationship. Yeah. So that's kind of refreshing. That's pretty cool because we haven't really seen that in a lot of movies, not just Marvel movies, but Hollywood movies in general. Like where a dude and a girl just have just a friendship, just the friendship type of relationship. That's pretty cool. That's a really like something different, right? Because it's typical Hollywood is like, all right, we got a girl, instant. We gotta ship them. They're a couple.
Yep.
So that's kind of getting a little fed up with that. Okay, so on to the not so good. I felt like the sister character, Shang-Chi's sister, was a little underutilized. Because at the beginning, she was kind of like a little hyped up, kind of built up to be a pretty important character, but she ended up just being there, throw her whip around.
Xialing.
Yeah. Xialing, Su Xialing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so her role in the movie was not as big as I had hoped for. Because I felt like she has more to do, right? But maybe in a future movie, since she's taken over the Ten Rings organization, she might have more to do in the future movies. But in this one specifically, her role could be a bit bigger. And speaking of the Ten Rings, we have known from like basically since the first Iron Man movie, it's a big, huge, dangerous organization. And throughout this movie, I felt like they didn't really get that point across. Because like whenever you see them go on an operation or do anything, it's only like a handful of like agents, right? Especially their quote unquote the top guy. It's just a dude with a blade for arms. Like come on, man! Like for a organization who has like enough influence to kidnap freaking Tony Stark, and this is all they can manage. Like give me a break, man. And if they're this dangerous, like what is the shield doing this whole time, you know? And if this is all they're capable of, from what we've seen in the movie, they should have been wiped out long time ago by the shield. So that's what I meant by this movie not really fitting into the Marvel universe because of that alone.
I see. Interesting.
In the grand scheme of things, their power level is too low. Like they should have made them seem a bit more dangerous. That is my biggest complaint for this movie.
I see.
Yeah.
Anything else with your just on the negative side?
On the negative side,
or that was just the one blaring thing that was just
that's a main thing. That's one blaring thing, and as I mentioned, the third act, the fight against the monster, it was kind of a little cheesy. And personally, like this is kind of nitpicking. When they're confronting the last boss, I was hoping Shang-Chi and Wenwu will actually team up a little bit for like a few minutes. Like, you know, have Wenwu have like the realization like that he messed up, so that they kind of join forces, each with 5 rings, fight for a bit, and things doesn't work out. Then he pass on, you know, the rest of the rings to Shang-Chi.
Interesting.
That's just you know, it's not really a complaint, but I wish they would have done that. It's more like a personal preference.
I disagree with that, but I also agree with your take on the last fight scene with the Dweller in Darkness. But then I also disagree at the same time because for me, now this is my take on it. I watched Shang-Chi twice.
Oh, all right.
I watched it on Friday on opening night, and yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I like 100% agreed with everything you're saying after my first viewing. Not so much as the 10 rings. Like, I'm not actually that familiar with the 10 rings, so I don't have that type of issue with it. But I do know they have their influence across the MCU since the beginning. But since you brought it up, I guess I can agree. They just had like the montage in the beginning when Shang-Chi's mother was telling him the story of Wenwu, right?
Wenwu,
and you know, it's just like a montage of what they were doing to topple governments, and he was a world conqueror. And that was just like it for
that's pretty much
explaining their influence and their power. I guess I thought that was enough. And when you brought it up, I guess I kind of agree with they didn't show how powerful the 10 rings was or is. And I'll come back to that point. But yeah, after the first movie, I did have that feeling like I don't know. I felt in the last act with the Dragon Protector and the Dweller in Darkness, that final fight was a little bit, I don't know, it left me wanting a little bit more from it. But that's when I first initially watched it. I was watching it for the set piece, and the set piece itself is kind of lacking if you're just watching it as a set piece. But the second time around, you know, I know exactly what's going to happen, and the story beats when it's the pacing and everything. So now I'm concentrating on the characters and their performance and their development even more. I'm like, I learned even more about Tony Leung's eyes, right? After watching the first movie, I was just like kind of on YouTube watching a bunch of interviews and, you know, breakdowns of these actors' roles in previous movies. And yeah, I saw some video talking about Tony Leung's eyes. He's the actor, or he's the man who acts with his eyes in China. Right? And I was like, okay, interesting. Okay. And then last night, I had the opportunity. I had a family gathering yesterday, and a bunch of us, me, my cousins, we all wanted to watch Shang-Chi. Because they haven't watched it yet, and they wanted to watch it. So I was like,
yeah, watch it again.
I'll watch it again for sure.
All right.
And like, I actually wanted to do that because Shang-Chi, I think after my second viewing, I would say it's my favorite MCU movie.
Really,
yeah. I would say it's my favorite one. It has the best action, like fighting choreography. The best character origin story, I think.
Yeah. Like for origin story, I would say it's one of the better ones.
Yeah, but like after watching it a second time, and really kind of analyzing the character arcs of all these characters, not even just Shang-Chi, but everyone.
Everyone,
Like, all the
everyone
supporting
has
cast. Yeah, Katie and Xialing and Wenwu, like all of them. They all have like such a powerful character development. And that made me kind of change my mind about the last act, because now I'm not looking at it as the final fight scene against the Dweller in Darkness. Now I'm seeing it as the kind of self-actualization of Shang-Chi and Wenwu, and I'm seeing the characters, and that's where my focus is, and not on the action.
That's
right?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Because
it's
like when you were saying that you would have preferred if Wenwu and Shang-Chi fight the Dweller in Darkness together. After watching the second time, I have to disagree, because that final moment of Wenwu's life, exactly what you were saying. He didn't say a single thing to Shang-Chi, but all you were watching, like I was specifically the whole movie, I would just anytime
He shows
Tony
up.
Lang was in the shot, I was like, I'm looking at your eyes, Tony, and tell me a story with your eyes. And he was telling me stories like there's a whole other script behind this man's eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny because I watched one of the interviews with Simu, and he was saying like when Tony learns, it's like, when he's being filmed, Tony was saying like, okay, so like everyone, they don't have to be there. I can do it. I can just act out the
myself,
scene. Yeah, but Simu was like, no. Let me just, the camera is here, and Simu was just right there, like looking at it. Like, he just like, I just wanted to look at your eyes. And I think Tony was getting a little frustrated. Like, come on, just get out of the way.
Yeah. But no, those last moments of Wenwu, you see it in Wenwu's eyes. That final fight scene between Shang-Chi and Wenwu. Oh my! Now I'm gonna go off on a tangent now. Oh man, it brings back the very first fight scene in the movie between Wenwu and Li, Shang-Chi's mother. Oh my gosh, that set the tone of like the action choreography. This is the most beautiful dance, or I was gonna say dance. This is the most beautiful fight scene I've ever seen.
It might as well be a dance. It's like they're fighting, they're flirting.
It was graceful. It was poetic. It flowed, and there was like a kind of a clash between two differing characters.
You can legit feel the clash of emotions and character in that single fight. There is there's animosity, but there is a type of curiosity. There is affection, like in that one fight. Like it's so beautiful.
I'm getting hyped just thinking about it. Like, and again, Tony Lang's eyes. That slow motion it's kind of corny, kind of cheesy, but like when they're going in a circle and
like grabbing each other, just spinning around.
But Tony Lang, when when Wenwu's looking into Lee's eyes, right? Like Tony Lang, he kind of he seems kind of vulnerable, right? Where he's looking at is it Lee? I'm pretty sure it's Lee. Yeah, Lee. And then Lee's looking at him like you got nothing on me, kind of thing. Like you can already tell that Wenwu's kind of falling in love here.
Yeah.
But
he's like vulnerable in multiple ways, like in terms of like fighting prowess and emotionally, like both. And he get that across. It's that was like you said, it set the tone for the movie.
And then the personality of the characters with Wenwu, he wants to dominate his opponent, whereas Lee wants to kind of disengage and to de-escalate her opponent. So it's like two differing fighting styles, and with Wenwu is brute force and strength, and Lee is grace and Bro, that was just the first fight scene. My goodness. But yeah, like I think this is my favorite MCU movie because watching it a second time, I recommend it. I recommend it watching a second time and really focusing on the characters, because the first time around you're kind of discovering everything at the same time. It's hard to kind of focus on any particular thing, and it's mostly the action that you're kind of seeing at first.
Yeah,
and that's why
and the plot,
I think,
I guess.
I think that's why the last act kind of felt a little bit disappointing, just a little bit, because as a final set piece, it is pretty brief. Like, okay, like there goes the Dweller in Darkness, and yeah, after my first viewing, I say like Shang-Chi was a 9 out of 10, but after watching a second time and really looking. Honestly, it's because of Tony Leung. Maybe 10 out of 10.
Like he really carried the movie. Like
he stole the show, bro.
He definitely stole the show. Like I was worried this would happen. Like me knowing like what the caliber of actor he is.
Yeah.
Because like Simu, he's not bad by any means, but compared to Tony, he's still got like way to go, right?
Oh yeah.
And it shows. There's a few shots where they're both in a same shot. Or like, you know, you see them back to back, and you can just tell like, man, like it's such a difference. But well, then again, there's like, how old is Simu Liu? Like he's like what, like maybe like 30, I'm guessing.
I don't know.
Like late 20s, early 30s.
But he's young. He's young,
right? Like whereas Tony is like twice his age. Tony is like 60.
1989, so 31.
31. Okay, right? So yeah.
No, 32. 32.
Something like that. But well, yeah, like 30, 31, 32. Whereas Tony, I believe he's 59 right now. So that's a big gap, right?
Yeah, almost double.
Almost double his age.
Double his age, and like even more so in
experience,
career experience.
Yeah, career experience.
For sure, I agree. But Simu Liu, like he did a great job. I wouldn't say he's like an amateur actor, but like in terms of big budget Hollywood movies, especially MCU, he is kind of a newbie. But he did a great job. I remember one of his scenes that was like one of his most powerful scenes is when he's confessing to Katie when they're at Talo. He's on the lake, and he's by the pond, by the pond, and he's looking out into the water, and he's like remembering or kind of telling Katie like, I'm not who you think I am.
Yeah, like coming out about how he actually
went through with the hit. Yeah. I thought that performance was spot on. Like he was I felt like he felt like he was Shang-Chi in that moment.
Yeah.
And he felt that pain and that trauma. It's a bit nitpicky on my end, but like everything was totally like spot on in terms of his performance. And then at the end he says, I'm gonna kill him. I'm like, whew, okay.
Yeah, although
but then after he says I'm gonna kill him, you know, I would have preferred if he just had that like brooding kind of look into the water, and he just kept on doing that. Maybe like a single tear dropped down his cheek or something. But he kind of over emotes. He kind of puts his hands to his face, you know. That's... And he walks off. And I thought it would have been more of a powerful performance if he just kind of stayed with the flow of what he was going. Yeah.
Just stayed in that moment.
Overall, Simu Liu, like he's a great actor. Well, he was good.
He did what he had to. Yeah, he was fine. He was fine. If for me, the one moment I kind of want to nitpick, it's the moment when he got knocked into the ocean and he met the Guardians. Like he was breathing in all the bubbles, like that scene. Like I wanted his like facial expression to have more like of a awakening determination, that type of look. I felt a little flat.
Nice.
That's me nitpicking.
Yeah.
Like, know, I felt like I'm expecting too much, but at the same time, that is supposed to be a huge moment in his life. So I was hoping it could have been a bit more.
Yeah.
Like in terms of his acting, emotion wise.
I mean, from where he is right now, like he's only going up in terms of
Yeah,
his
it's
acting
it's
skills,
asking
right?
for a bit too much, like for him to deliver in that scene. Like
But I still think overall, Simu he did a really great job in Shang-Chi, and I'm
yeah.
excited to see more of him in the MCU.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
jumping off of that scene that you're talking about with the Guardian, or the Protector when he was breathing in the bubbles, like the second time around, this is what I noticed. Okay, like these bubbles, they're coming from where the Protector is kind of hibernating from,
Yeah.
right? And I realized like, wait, this is like these air bubbles are coming from the dragon. So he's breathing in the dragon's breath. And this is when he gets his powers from
Oh,
Talo in
yeah.
Talo. And this is when he
Or more like he
exactly what you
awakens
say.
to the power,
Yeah, he
because
awakens to the
I believe
power.
he has the power in him, right? This whole time, because well,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
at least son, right?
yeah. And like the whole movie, um, he was kind of like it's character development. He's kind of unsure of the person he is at the lake where he's confessing to Katie.
Yeah.
He's portraying his father's character. He's like, I'm gonna kill him. Like that's his response. Like a blood debt must be repaid in blood. That's what he says, and you know this is what his father's character would do. This is what his Wenwu side. But then when he goes into the lake, and then when he gets punched into the lake, breathes in the dragon's breath,
Breathes in his
gets
mother's
awakened.
side, basically.
Yeah, he breathes in his mother's side, and that's when the fight with Wenwu starts. And then, oh man, and then
Because yeah,
when they
for
fight, like it's a mix of obviously of like strength, but also grace because it mimics the exact
yeah,
fight
Shang-Chi
scene from the
started doing
beginning, right?
the Tai Chi like movements, right?
Yeah, but Tony Lang's face is different when he was like that same exact shot,
Yeah.
right? He's not vulnerable and he's like not like showing respect. He's like he feels defeated. He's defeated at this moment. And something else that's mirrored is when when Lee does the Kamehameha with the 10 rings. And
Oh yeah.
actually like hits Wenwu and he goes into the little pond there, puddle. But Shang-Chi
He's
he's
decided.
preparing for that final blow, that Hadoken, and he
Dropped it.
drops it.
Yeah.
Right? So he went from a completely like I'm gonna kill him like vengeance type of demeanor and motive to letting go, kind of forgiveness right in that moment. And after that, that's when they engage in dialogue. When Wenwu like he shows his human side. It's like I have to save her. I have to save her. Like this is my wife. I hear her voice, and Wenwu is appealing to Shang-Chi's human side instead of like trying to overpower him at this point. And that's when the Dweller in Darkness comes out, right? And when Wenwu is showing his human side, that's when obviously he gets snatched up by the Dweller in Darkness, and those
He's
last
the most vulnerable.
moments. That's his last moments looking at his son, right? His eyes are telling the story. He's filled with regret, but they're also filled with love,
Yeah.
right? And then
And almost kind of a bit of like relief and confidence that like Shang-Chi can finish, can do the right thing. Like it's such a mix of emotion when he got snatched up.
oh yeah,
You
and
see the
like,
slight change. Oh man.
and like something that we might overlook is when Wu has had these rings for 1,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
1,000 years. Like imagine holding on to something so precious to you for 1,000 years and not giving it to any particular person,
Yeah.
right? And in your final moments, like you're giving them up. Like I'm pretty sure Wenwu, he could have gotten out of them with the 10 rings, gotten out of that situation. Like he's powerful. He's a powerful guy, and those rings are very powerful weapons or tools.
Yeah.
And he could have gotten out of that situation. I think.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah, but like in these final moments, right? What he does is let go. And I don't. This is my theory. I'm reaching, but like I don't. I don't know if you remember, but when Wenwu was fighting this whole movie, were his fists closed the whole time?
Yeah, I think.
His fists
Mostly.
were closed whenever he's fighting, right?
Yeah.
And in his last moments, he opens them to release the rings to Shang-Chi.
Oh.
Right? And then he lets go of the rings, and Shang-Chi receives the power of the 10 rings. I think that was powerful, right? There's finally so much layers to this moment, and like just looking into Tony Leung's eyes, this is what I received. This is what I received, like this whole entire unwritten story, from this like 20-second scene, just Wenwu and Shang-Chi sharing this father-son
that moment. Yeah.
Look.
That one moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's why Wenwu, the best Marvel villain, I guess you can call him.
I agree. That's why this is my favorite Marvel movies. Best fighting sequences or fighting scenes, best characters, best supporting cast, best character development, best antagonist. It's just amazing overall. It's like Tony Leung. Come on.
In a sense, it almost doesn't even feel like a Marvel movie.
I know. Like this is a really good standalone movie.
Yeah, that's like in a sense, I think like if this was a standalone movie, might even be better. But at the same time, the fact that it's a Marvel movie makes you hype for what Shang-Chi can do. Because once you get the 10 rings, if this was a standalone movie, you want to see what he does with them, right? And this is what we're getting. We get to see what he does with the 10 rings.
Oh yeah. Well, what's your favorite scenes in Shang-Chi?
My favorite scenes whenever Tony's in it.
Can't argue with that.
There's so many, man. Well, obviously, I have to point out the bus scene, that the whole action sequence.
We didn't even talk about that yet. All right, we're gonna talk.
It's one of the best action sequences I've seen in any movies. That is such a hype action sequence. Just at the beginning when you're fighting Simu, someone grabbed his jacket, he fought them off, and he freaking puts them back on. I was like, whoa, come on, easy there with the style.
I really wish it was Simu doing all the stunts. I hope so. He is credited as being a stuntman.
Yeah,
he's a stuntman.
Yeah, I think he started his career as a stuntman because he does have martial arts background, so he can do a lot of these stunts. But for the really dangerous ones, I'm sure they got a stunt double.
But I hope that whole entire bus scene.
Well, most of them it is because if you look at him, a lot of the scenes you can still see his face.
See his face, yeah.
So like if people slow down the video, I think they can still see his face, and that's a sign like that it's actually him doing these stunts.
But if not, like credit goes
even
to
like
the stunt
to the choreographer, stunt coordinator, the fight scene choreographer. It's amazing. The initial fight scene is crazy when they start chopping up, and when Shang-Chi start jumping around the bus, he jumps off, grabs the backfield, the side mirror, flips around, like man, like all those stuff. It's crazy.
By the way, I think you know where they give the credit or like in memory of I should probably look it up before. I think it's Brad Allen. He was a stunt coordinator.
Yeah, the stunt coordinator. He passed away. Before the movie came out. So.
R.I.P. Brad Allen. My goodness.
Thank you. Thank you for this incredible action movie.
Final, gift to the world before you leave us. This is the best
parting
MCU gift. Stunts, fight sequences in any MCU movie, and there's like almost 30 now.
Damn, that's quite a lot, eh? It's right up there. It's right up there because yeah, I think the ones in Civil War, Winter Soldier are top tier as well. Those are really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that bus scene alone, because the fight is so grounded, and
Yeah.
the type of shit they pull, it's so crazy. It makes it that much more impressive because in the Captain America movies, they're basically superhumans, right? They're hopping from car to car. They're doing all this crazy stuff that you can't really do. You see Bucky grabbing a motorcycle, chucking around. I was like, those are cool, but at the same time, like come on, man, it's obviously it's CG. It kind of takes a little away from that mind blowingness, you know.
Yeah, for sure. When when there's a superhuman aspect to the action, there's kind of like a a doubt in your mind.
Yeah, there's
that looks cool. That looks cool.
It looks cool,
but I'm not impressed.
You're just not as impressed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because of course you can throw this motorcycle at this dude. Like,
It's
I mean, it is awesome, but
yeah.
when I'm watching these like the bus fight scene, I'm like, okay, this is a martial artist master. Basically, this guy was a trained killer, and like, just him zipping around the bus and fighting multiple dudes and trying to save and protect and defend the passengers as well.
Yeah.
And the teamwork with Katie. Like, shout out to Katie for being
driving
a great driver.
Driver, yeah, man.
Oh my goodness. And yeah, like one of the best fight scenes in any Marvel movie or any movie whatsoever.
Any movie,
because you see the action. Sometimes in movies the action is so chaotic and you can't even follow.
Well, the thing is that a lot of actors they can't really fight, right? So they have to kind of just do crazy shaky cams, or they have to put a stunt double, so they have to film from they have to hide it. They film from awkward angle. They cut they cut the camera every like second, every 1 or 2 seconds. So it's like, okay, you punch and then you cut to a different angle. It just makes it really hard to follow what's going on. And here they actually, I guess in a more typical Hong Kong action like kung fu movie style, they held the camera there for like 10 seconds to let us see all the action.
Yeah,
and that's easier said than done, but they pulled it off.
Oh yeah, for sure. And with the fight scene, it comes pretty fast into the movie, right? This is when you start to see Shang-Chi's abilities, and that just like gives more of a highlight of how well done the pacing is. I didn't feel like they dropped the beat or there's lulls in the story. It kind of went from one thing to the other in a good amount of time. Like you have your action sequence, some exposition, dialogue, backstory, and I was engaged the entire time. Like maybe, even the second time.
So I'm thinking maybe they could have spent just a little bit, maybe like extra like 5 minutes, showcasing how Shang-Chi at the beginning he is essentially just like running away from life. You get a sense of that.
Yeah.
Like him working as a valet driver.
Yeah.
Just parking cars and him just chilling, going out to karaoke late in the night, not really caring about his life. It's like you get a sense of that. I kind of wish we see a bit more of him just being kind of lost and depressed. And speaking of which, like that, I kind of wish his dynamic with his sister is a little better, because it seems like he really cares about her, but at the same time he did leave her alone for 6 years, right? So that was
from like when he was 14 until until the present day.
Yeah. Okay. So more than that, because she said it took her 6 years to realize he's not coming back.
He's not coming back.
So more than that. So
she doesn't need him anymore.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
So for someone who claims to really care about his sister, he didn't really do much, right? So, and that's why I kind of wish
I kind of disagree with that.
That's why I'm kind of hoping. I shouldn't say hope. I wish they showed him being like kind of depressed and maybe even showing a bit of regret when he sees like the postcard and all the stuff.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that are shown, but they're quick and you can miss it. But
Yeah.
it does have like context or implications of a lot of things, and you don't necessarily have to show every little thing. With the postcard, he said that he had it for months, so he I guess you can imply that okay, he doesn't know if he can face his sister at this point. He's ashamed, right? But he's had this postcard for months, thinking it was from her, but it ends up not being from her. But in terms of their dynamic, like when you haven't seen each other for how many years, right? You can't just like pick up where you left off, especially with how you abandon someone, right? But I think their relationship, if it seems like there's something missing, is because there is something missing.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a relationship. But in those final moments in the last act, right, when the Dweller in Darkness was about to eat the dragon's soul, like Shang-Chi was holding Xialing's hand because she was getting dragged off. And in that moment, right, like it's that typical trope, like you have to let go if you want to save the world. But Shang-Chi refused. He like, I'm not letting you go again.
Well, like that. That's fine. I guess what I'm referring to is at the beginning. I wish he would show more emotion about his like regret, and use like powerlessness. I guess maybe show a few scenes where like every night before he goes to bed or whatever, he just picks it up, stares at it, shakes his head, puts it back down. Like 1 or 2 extra scenes, that.
I mean,
maybe not in that exact way, but at least get that point across.
Yeah.
In a subtle way, like like clearly show that he has some attachment to that card, but he's powerless to do anything.
I mean, we're nitpicking at that point.
It's nitpicking in there. It's nitpicking.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think it would make it a better movie if they added that in. Like, I don't miss those scenes if it was going to be in there. I feel like what they had in there between Shang-Chi and Xialing, it's sufficient. It was good. It was like And the most important thing was that in that last moment when he refused to let go, like that was the important part to show what the relationship is going to be from that point. Especially since this is not going to be the last we're going to see of either of them. Right? And did you watch the post credit
Yeah.
With Xialing basically sitting
taking
on
over
throne. And it said specifically the 10 rings will
10
return.
rings. So that means, well, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna see more of her and the organization because that's what I got out of the post credit. Them saying the 10 rings will return. I'm sure it means her and all the whole clan and organization will be a factor in the upcoming movies.
Yeah.
Because if they're just referring to Shang-Chi, they would have said Shang-Chi will return. But the fact that they said 10 rings.
It's obvious that Shang-Chi will return, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I understand why they say it's 10 rings. Okay, that's
or maybe they might want to like mislead people thinking, oh, it's Shang-Chi the 10 rings. The 10 rings, actually, the rings will make a return.
Oh man. Oh, I might have a point there. How have we not talked about Michelle Yeoh? Like, she did a great job, I think.
Oh, she did a really good job. Even though her role wasn't it was important, but at the same time, not like huge role, like, but she still has a huge part in the movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. She, again, just watching the forms when she was training in that little courtyard before Shang-Chi asked how his mother defeated Wenwu when they first met, right? I love it. I freaking love those fights where it's like a graceful dance, basically.
And speaking of like that caliber of actor, I'm a little salty that they didn't really get let Yuanhua, the old trainer guy
yeah.
from the,
Guanbo.
like he he is one of the legendary action or kung fu like actors, martial artists actor in Hong Kong film.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Kung Fu Hustle. He was like one of
Yeah.
the main characters there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he, yeah, like like I said, he's one of the legendary actors in Hong Kong. He was trained together with Jackie Chan and all the stuff. So it was a bit of a bummer. He didn't get to do more, and he just got off.
Did him dirty.
I know, but at least
that reminds me. Well, continue.
But no, I'm just saying, like, it's kind of disappointing he didn't get to show off his cool skills. Although he's getting old, so I'm not sure if he can do it still.
Yeah, I mean, at this point now we're just geeking out because we're just saying how great this movie is. Katie with Guangbo, like, this is also a character arc that I really liked in Shang-Chi with Katie, and she has a master's degree, but she's still parking cars with Shang-Chi, and she feels lost and doesn't know what to do, right? And like she's just hanging out with her friend, singing karaoke, even though like she has so much potential, and like that speaks to, I'm pretty sure, many young adults in that kind of situation where you don't know what you're gonna do, and like, okay, come on, why are you talking? Why are you talking about my life right now? And then that moment when she's like taking the bow and a bunch of arrows to the archery range, and then that woman, she says, if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing. I'm like, oh god, so good. And then like, she started off as a confused young adult with a master's degree to becoming a proficient archer. I don't even know what she is now, but she helped save
that's the thing.
world.
Like, I don't know what her role will be in future Marvel films, because she is clearly going to be part of it. She's tagging along with Shang-Chi.
I wouldn't even say she's a sidekick, but she's definitely like a partner. In Shang-Chi, she's like a journey now.
She's the driver.
She's the driver. Yeah, and
imagine take her to like Avengers headquarters or Shield, whatever. Train her how to pilot one of those ships. She'll be fine, right?
Yeah, like Kate.
She can probably get them through a lot of dangerous situations. All right, you got a bunch of people shooting at us. Hop on a plane, Katie, do your thing, and she's like, all right, no problem.
I think Katie is a new character specifically for the MCU. I'm not sure. I'm not too familiar with Shang-Chi's.
Neither am I. I'm not too familiar with that.
Comics and his story. But from what I was trying to research, because every time I finish watching a movie, I look up like who the characters were. Like, okay, Shang-Chi's Shang-Chi. And the guy with the blade fist, that's Razor Fist. Razor Fist, a prolific henchman for Wenwu, I guess, or the Ten Rings.
Yeah. Who seems kind of too weak for that role.
But where was I going with this? Yeah, Katie, she didn't show up, or like she says, I don't know if that's her real like superhero name. I don't know. But from what I can gather, I think she's just a new addition to the MCU, and I think from this solidifies kind of like, okay, we're really not following the comic books at this point. It is its own universe, and we can't compare it to and nitpick it to how it accurately portrays the comic books at this point.
Yeah,
because they take liberties with certain things and try to ground.
They take a lot of liberties. Yeah.
So
even the character Wong, the wizard, I'm not sure if he is an actual character from the comic books. I have a feeling he might be made up.
Wong.
Yeah,
he's like always returning.
He's cool, man. I like that character.
I didn't even realize that the monster he was fighting was Abomination.
Oh, he didn't know, eh?
I didn't realize that. at first.
Yeah, I saw the first trailer and I was like, holy shit, Abomination is in this movie.
I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, look at this generic monster. He's fighting Wong. Oh, Wong. Yeah, I didn't realize it was Abomination.
Cool. Yeah. And and then going back to Katie, this is more of a personal reaction to one of the scenes. It's when Shang-Chi visited her house, Katie's house or apartment, whatever.
Yes.
And her family's having, that interaction, talking to Waipo, which means what's a good way to translate that? It's your
not
mom.
grandmother.
I believe it's grandmother, but your mom's side grandmother.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's what it means.
Okay.
Because Waipo means grandma from the outside.
Okay.
So, people who knows, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I believe it's your. Actually, I don't even know if that's correct because, your grandma from your mother's side it's Popo, and the grandma from your dad's side is Mama. Well, in Cantonese. I'm not sure about Mandarin. So there's two ways
Mandarin in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it's mostly Mandarin. But what I'm trying to say is, in that moment, it's cool. Kind of, they replicated a very common occurrence where the younger generation they speak English, but the parents and grandparents speak to them in their native tongue. Which it's a daily occurrence in my household as well. Whenever my niece and nephew comes over, they speak English to my parents, to their grandparents, but my grandparents speak Chinese to them. And they still kind of understands both, right? But they just they speak the language they're more comfortable with. So the fact they kept that, it put up a smile on my face because it's a very subtle, small detail, but it's very accurate. It's very accurate.
It's a story about, well, it's Chinese American, but it's a Chinese American story and not like a Chinese traditional, right? And I think that's where a lot of people might have gripes with the movie. It not portraying Chinese culture accurately, but this is a Chinese American culture.
Yeah, at least for Shang-Chi and Katie, like their story. Well, especially Katie, her story. It's one of a Chinese American, and that it's a story we rarely see in Hollywood movies because it's usually either, just American or just traditional Chinese. We don't see that aspect of of Chinese American or even any foreigners, right? Like how it's like growing up as a foreigner in quote unquote foreigner in America, or maybe for us in our.
I relate to that. Yeah. Because same thing, like in my family, I'm Filipino, so when they talk to me in Tagalog, which is like my family's native tongue, I'll have to respond in English. I don't speak Tagalog. So it's the exact same thing, and I just like the representation of Asian North American culture because we're Canadian. I guess it's the same, Asian American, and that's what I appreciate. So that like that small,
that small detail to me, as a Chinese living in Canada, that means quite a lot. Since I feel like they're actually acknowledging that these type of people exist.
And it's a natural writing for it. It's not like shoehorned in, trying to like, hey, guess what? We're also Asian American. Instead of like
their character, the main character arc is not them being Asian. It's them finding a purpose in life, right? But they just happen to be, Asian American or North American.
So that's why I understand why there's a lot of communities out there that feel misrepresented in movies, and they want to feel that representation because, like, imagine how we feel, and that's why these people that don't have as much representation in media, how they feel like, okay, we don't have an accurate portrayal of these cultures, and that's what we want. We want people to represent us accurately, not cheesy or corny, shoehorned into stories, and it helps, make us be proud of who we are.
And speaking of that, I have to bring this up. I don't like bringing this up, but going back to Simu, I've heard some complaints from the Asian community that he is not good looking enough.
You said you watched with your mom and your sister, right?
Yep, and they share that mentality. They're saying like,
so even after the movie, they're like, it's not good looking enough.
Nope, they were like trashing him, man. They were legit trashing him. He's like he's like his acting's not good enough. He's just not good looking and all this stuff. Like, I can kind of understand a bit of that because I hate to say this, but Simu, like his look, it's average, which is fine, but he lacks a bit of that charisma. And I believe that's what the director is trying to achieve because he wants someone who can pass off as a regular, ordinary person to be the main character of this film. The director said that, according to someone interview.
Yeah.
Because when you compare him to other Marvel main characters, not all of them are good looking, but they do have that aura, that charisma, that they are basically like beyond normal, basically. Yeah. They're capable of something much more. They all have that look to them. And that's something that's kind of missing from Simu.
Interesting.
So in that aspect, like, when my mom and sister are complaining about that, I can kind of understand, but at the same time, it sounds like that's by design, by the director. So in that sense, it's not really a complaint, but I feel like that's something I want to bring up.
I thought like Simu Liu, sexy Asian dude. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree. And this is this is Asian American, right? For an Asian American man, this Simu is a good looking Asian American man.
He is average. He is average because there are much better looking ones.
I feel like I don't know if
it's being constantly subjected to a bunch of movies and TV shows my mom and sister watch. I can assure you,
would they fit the role?
They might. Or the only thing some of them might be missing it's the language, which with some training and practice maybe they can get over that. Although the fact that they want to portray a Asian American, that might be a bit of a problem since you can't exactly have them speaking with an accent.
Yeah.
So that is the only thing I felt like that's the biggest obstacle. Other than that, in terms of just martial arts background and looks, they are definitely better choices. I don't know their names since I don't follow it, but from what I've seen from their TV shows and movies and stuff, there are some very pretty boys out there.
I don't want a pretty boy Shang-Chi. Like, I don't want that. Simu, he fits that Shang like that everyman kind of look.
There's that, but you have to understand because when people watch this movie, they're gonna look at they're gonna look at Tony and Fala Chen. They're saying how come the son of these two people doesn't look as good as them?
I don't know. I don't think he looks average. Like, there's that more average looking Asian people. This is objective. Simu is a good looking Asian American man. That's objective. Like, I am Asian, an average Asian looking dude, and Simu looks better than me. So that is I'd say the bar.
I don't know. Maybe like my standards has been like warped thanks to my family. But I think he's average. I think he's average at best.
Okay.
So if anything, blame the fangirls in my family. They're the ones who warped my standards.
Yeah. I disagree, but we're gonna move on.
Let's move on. This is a very small topic for this review. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
But yeah, just going back to Asian American representation, I think they did a really good job. I did relate to, that that breakfast scene before they went to take the bus.
Went on the bus, yeah.
And the Asian mother and talking to the children is like, oh, what are you gonna do, with your master's degree? What are you gonna do? I can't park cars for a living.
And of course, them like asking Katie, like or asking Shang-Chi, when are you gonna get married, man? That is a very typical Asian family thing to do. Is like as soon as you see your son or daughter, together with a someone of the opposite sex, they just immediately assume like, when are you getting married?
Yeah. And that goes back to like how strong of a friendship Katie and Sean has.
Sean, yeah.
10 years being friends. So that would make
just being friends.
Shang-Chi 24 in the movie. Because when he first came to America, he went to high school, right? That's how they met. And 10 years later, that's when they're talking about. So 24. So again,
at least 24.
Yeah. So a very typical conversation between parents and you're like in your mid-20s to late 20s. What are you doing with your life? Trust me, if I knew, like, I would do it.
Yeah. Definitely. Easier said than done. Finding what you want to do in life.
Oh
yeah.
But wise words. If you aim at nothing,
you hit nothing.
You will hit nothing.
Yep. So this movie, man. This movie, it's crazy how much effort they put into developing all the characters, all the small little themes.
Yeah.
Thinking back to a lot of other, not just Marvel movies, especially origin movies, because origin movies, it's a little harder to make something good out of because you have to follow a certain formula. You can't just introduce a character and and put them in some crazy plot. You have to introduce to the audience to who this character is, develop his personality, then the plot, right?
Yes.
So origin stories is usually harder to do because of that, and the fact that they it's as good as it is, it's quite impressive.
Oh yeah, talking about character development, man, I could talk about this movie for hours, but I guess the last thing we'll talk about is just again character development just those flashbacks with Shang-Chi and Wenwu, when Wenwu, he just kind of snaps, I guess, and
after his wife died,
yeah,
he put the rings back on, went to that restaurant place, I guess, when he was just like snapping that table, beating the shit out of everyone. The looks on his face, like, man, like that was a crazy moment.
That was a well shot scene. It was beautiful, and I think it was one shot take, like from the walking in, and then Wenwu walks towards the table, smashes it, turns around. The camera turns around, and then there's a mirror right next to Shang-Chi, little Shang-Chi, and you can see the action still unfold, but also the child Shang-Chi's reaction. And he's like, he's witnessing his father basically murdering people.
Yeah.
And then the Wenwu throws the final henchman at the mirror.
In the mirror, yeah.
And then you see like Wenwu,
and he walks over and you see him do that one punch. Ooh, and the fact that you don't even see the guy getting hit, you just see the fist move and the shockwave. It's like that is enough.
Again, Tony Leung's face.
He just looks up that face. Oh man, it's
not even like
a work of art.
Anger. It's just determination, and his sole purpose is just to get to the boss. But also he turns to his son just after murdering a gang of people, playing poker. Just to looks at his son. It's like, will you help me?
Yeah, man.
Oh my god! Come on.
He really carried the movie. If it wasn't for him, I don't think this movie would be nearly as good.
For sure. But then again, like that was when Wenwu, he's probably done more vicious things, but like just in context of Shang-Chi's life,
that is the most vicious thing.
That is the most vicious thing.
You've seen his
but
dad
then after that, it's it just kind of maintained its viciousness because
Yeah.
at that point, Shang-Chi went through 7 years of rigorous training
Yeah.
just to become an assassin. It reminds me of Killua.
Yeah. From Hunter x Hunter. Yeah.
Bro.
Okay. So, I think before we end off, let's talk about one more thing. The mid-credit scene. What did you think of it?
Wong and Bruce
Wong
Banner.
taking him, Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel.
Okay, first of all, Bruce is Bruce.
Yeah, he's no longer the Hulk.
He's
So
no longer Professor Hulk.
yeah, but
Like-
his arm is still in a slingy.
Yeah, because
It's
of the
his
snap,
arm is
right?
still So
I'm assuming
his arm
it's from
hasn't
the
fully
snap.
healed. Yeah, it is. I think, unless
I
you
don't
got
know
hurt
what
again.
I don't know what to think about that scene because like it's saying it's sending out a beacon.
Yeah,
and I don't even know to what. Like I don't read into theories. I don't look into backstory or anything. I kind of just okay, whatever the MCU movies tell me, whatever even the shows, Disney Plus, because Disney Plus, you got to watch the shows because I feel like it's going to be very important in the next phase.
Yeah.
And like I don't read anything beyond those movies and shows. So from what I remember of all the movies and shows, I can't piece it together with what the origin of the ring is, with the beacon that's being sent out to whatever. But
All I can say it's
they felt it
like
in Comertage. So I don't know.
Well, because the only hint they gave us is that it's nothing of magical origins because they don't have any records of it according to Wong. So at least it's if it's actual magical, it predates what they've been recording, which is like a few thousand years.
Okay.
It's nothing of alien origin because at least nothing modern alien because Captain Marvel doesn't recognize it.
Yeah.
And Bruce Banner is like just nothing modern science because he doesn't understand anything about it. So the only explanation it's either it's a alternate dimension or something of cosmic being scale.
Yeah. Interesting.
And in terms of like,
so these are like Infinity Stones 2.0, basically where we're going.
Well, it's more like it's created by something very ancient.
Yeah.
And in terms of who it's calling, if it's that ancient, there's a few candidates. I want to say like is Galactus, but maybe that's asking for too much. There might be other cosmic beings I'm not too familiar with. I actually know more about DC than Marvel, so when it comes to Marvel, I'm a little lost.
I'm not well versed in comic books at all. I'm more of a layperson fan enthusiast, but just specifically with the MCU because yeah, I didn't read comic books. I'm not much of a fan of any particular superhero. I just like superheroes in general. And just when Iron Man 1 came out in theaters, I was hooked. And then just realizing, okay, there's more to this. There's more Marvel superheroes. Okay. And yeah, like I know names like Galactus and that's whatever. And like the implications of those things. So it could be Galactus. And then we have Eternals coming up.
Eternals. We'll see what that movie it's like. So yeah. I know very little about Eternals. I've heard of them, but I know very little about what their background.
Yeah, I think like from what I'm thinking in terms of where the MCU is going, I feel like it had kind of a pseudo reboot. It's kind of starting again from like phase 1 type of feelings. Where,
yeah,
like,
they're setting a lot of
mysterious. There's a lot of hidden kept in the dark that you're not going to tell your audience until you have an Avengers type of collaborative movie where everything's kind of coming together now. But you're going to have these individual character movies like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, next is Spider-Man, No Way Home, which by the way is what makes me want to get headphones now for trailers because even though I was looking at my popcorn, I was hearing everything they're saying.
He got spoiled.
Like, come on. You're saying everything that's going to happen in the future movie.
Yeah. And actually, that brings me to a different topic. Looking at these movies now, the last Spider-Man movie, this one, the next Spidey, and then whatever that's coming afterwards, or even a TV show. For me, as a comic book fan, I'm happy to see them starting to really embrace the wacky side of comics. What I mean is a lot of the weirder, crazier stories and characters and the costumes. They're like, you know what? People are okay with it, so let's just roll with it. Sometimes you see Loki in whack-ass costumes. You see, like Shang-Chi, they have a freaking dragon flying around fighting the Dweller in Darkness. And then in Eternals, they all, the concept of them and their looks and stuff, it's all really out there.
Yeah.
So they're really starting to embrace that side, right? And then especially now that they're doing Skrulls as well, according to the Spider-Man Far From Home, because afterwards they did review Nick Fury and I forgot the other agent name. It's they're actually Skrulls. They can shapeshift, right? And then I believe Captain Marvel, she's dealing with different type of aliens called the Kreese.
Yeah.
So they are introducing those type of elements into this world now. So it's they are legit.
It's getting
going
universal.
They're going for the weirder and wacky looking things from comic books, and that's good. That's a good sign to me.
Yeah, you get a lot more space for creativity. I think.
Yeah.
But it also has potential to be a little bit messy because there's so much things going on, and
it's slowly becoming kind of like the comic reader's biggest headache, because whenever, let's say me, if I want to read Spider-Man, there is so much you have to get into. Like, you know, there's the Amazing Spider-Man, the series. You have to read the different series, and then certain event in this story, you have to refer back to a story from like 10 years ago to understand what's going on. This is a common problem in comic books. There is too many layers. You have to kind of backtrack to follow and understand what's going on. And the MCU is kind of going in that direction with 30 movies.
I
mean, there's a lot going on. So this is its biggest strength and also its biggest weakness. Going forward.
But
so with this soft reboot, I think it's kind of a good thing. Because for people coming in new, they can kind of start fresh, right? They don't have to really know who is Captain America, who is Tony Stark. They can. It sucks, but they can kind of forget about them and watch a new cast, basically.
Yeah. It's it's kind of exciting me, because if they can make a movie like Shang-Chi in like recent years of the MCU, and it being my favorite MCU movie now, and that makes me excited for what's to come. Because again, after up to Endgame, which is 24 movies, I think, Endgame is obviously the climactic end to that saga of 23 to 24 movies. Insane, right?
That's crazy.
And you just think to yourself, how can you possibly follow this? And then they're kind of having the soft reboots. And
they kind of go in a different direction. Yeah.
Especially with the next thing to happen after Endgame would be WandaVision. I'm pretty sure. No. Spider-Man. Far From Spider-Man.
Home.
But it was still kind of continuing. I'd say it has that common movie flow. It has like the climax was the Endgame, and then you're going back down.
Well, yeah. Spider-Man is more like a epilogue rather than like
epilogue.
For the whole saga.
The reboot happened with the shows, which I highly recommend.
The TV shows
started with WandaVision.
WandaVision. Yeah.
And I think what I'm noticing with the movies that are coming out after Endgame is there's more of a focus on the hero and their character. They're really diving deep into their character. Like with Spider-Man, like he's struggling with Tony being gone, right? And him trying to fill those shoes. You know, Edith, come on. Even dead, I'm the hero. Like that's the way I was introduced, and like it's not helping Peter with his dilemma, still being a teenager, and like
it's a lot of pressure on him.
He was the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but now he's got to help save the world. Crazy.
Yeah.
And with Black Widow, same thing. But that was more origin story. But it gives more depth to the character because we never had her origin story. This is before anything happened because she's gone. And then Shang-Chi. Again, Tony Leung. Character development. It's just like it really focuses on and then the shows obviously focusing on characters. Like shows are long, and it focusing on one character, like they're definitely focusing on the superheroes this time instead of just making movies, I guess, and kind of just continuing the story in the universe. And that just makes me more excited to what's to come for the future of the MCU.
All right. Well, I felt like we've been gone on long enough.
Oh yeah, this was a very comprehensive,
review. We didn't even plan on making this review this long. It was like we were thinking, maybe 15-20 minutes long.
What can we possibly talk about?
Like it's been like over an hour now.
Okay, so final thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. What's your final rating? I know you hate ratings, but you're gonna give one.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Woo, that means a 10 out of 10 from Ricky.
See, okay, I'll say one more thing. I think this is, out of all the Marvel movie, this might be my favorite as a movie, but as a Marvel movie, it's somewhere in the middle.
What makes a Marvel movie a Marvel movie?
Like being a superhero type movie.
Okay.
It's the same thing I say about Batman.
That makes sense because Shang-Chi wasn't really a superhero until he got the Ten Rings.
Yeah, it's not until the very end, right? And I kind of say the same thing about Batman Begins and Dark Knight. Dark Knight is a better movie, but Batman Begins is a better Batman movie. Some people might hate me on, might disagree with me on that, but that's my take. So that's that's how I look at Shang-Chi. Like Shang-Chi, it's one of the better movies in the Marvel universe, but as a Marvel superhero movie, it's somewhere in the middle because of the few flaws I pointed out.
Yeah. Okay. For me,
and
sorry.
I was just gonna say even if you have no interest in watching Shang-Chi the character, just watch it just for Tony Leung.
Yes. If you're gonna watch, you haven't watched. Well, you should not have watched this if you haven't watched it yet. But if you're gonna watch it again, I recommend you focus your attention on Tony Leung's eyes, because there's another story to be told, like I've demonstrated. But personally, I first gave it a 9 out of 10 because of my gripes with it, and then realized, no, it was not flawed. My way of thinking was flawed. I wasn't focusing on Tony Leung's eyes, and because I did that, it's a 10 out of 10.
Tony Leung's eyes is 10 out of 10.
There's the movie on the surface, which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and then another movie underneath that is behind Tony Leung's eyes, and that movie. That's 10 out of 10. Again, my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. I love all the characters. Everyone did a great job, and I love that basically 99% of the cast is Asian, and the only non-Asian guy is Razor Fist.
And what's his name? Trevor. We didn't even talk
about Trevor. Oh, yeah,
we completely forgot about him.
Oh my god. Freaking Trevor, the man.
I forgot. Yeah, man. He was a pretty a really good comedic relief. In
my god, movie. Dude. Okay, we're low. All the mythical. There's Pokemon. Pokemon is canon in the MCU now. See the freaking Ninetales.
It's cool, man. Seeing all those mythical creatures, I was like, oh, okay, all right, and they're pretty buff too, man.
Yeah. Like I looked it up. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the Huntan, the faceless creature.
Actually, I've never heard of that.
I looked it up. It's named Hundun. Huntan. That's the There's obviously
it's
Chinese character
based on something. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Its name literally means muddled confusion in English. So I was like, okay, that makes sense because he doesn't say anything. It's very confusing.
Okay, HUNDUN or TUN?
D, as in done, as in David.
Hundun. And it means what? Confusion, muddling,
muddled
confusion. Okay, I have to look at the actual Chinese character to know what they're referring to.
Yeah, are you familiar with the Chinese mythical creatures?
Somewhat, because the nine-tailed fox in Cantonese Gaomeiwu, it's a very well-known mythical creature, and then the lions might be. Well, and once again, comments, people watching, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Kalen. It's a type of lion type creature. Obviously,
yeah.
They're also mythical as well.
Okay. We're supposed to end this, but I want to talk about Trevor.
Okay. Quickly.
Even better comic relief than Aquafina being Katie, right?
Oh yeah, he was great.
Amazing.
He's great. And it kind of gives closure to that character as well as Iron Man 3, because we always wonder what happened to that character, right?
Yeah.
So now we know what happened to him, and
oh my god, I saw him. No way, it's the Mandarin. It's Trevor. And man, I just love his backstory. The Planet of the Apes. That's a top. That's of all the MCU backstories and origin stories. Trevor's, that's up there.
One of the best.
Number in top 3 at least.
And he is a character I did not expect to show up at all. I did not expect him to show up in this movie at all.
Oh yeah.
Although logically you would think, okay, he's the Mandarin, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense he would mention him at some way, but I didn't expect him to show up this way. So that was pretty cool.
Man, this movie has everything. Again, 10 out of 10. That just makes me even more confident that my rating is accurate. But yeah, 10 out of 10 from Moses, 8 out of 10 from Ricky, which is equals in when you convert it, it's 10 out of 10.
Nah, 8 out of 10.
Okay, that's a very high rating for those of you who aren't familiar with Ricky at this point. 8 out of 10 is very high on Ricky's scale. Because nothing is a 10 out of 10 ever. So you have to convert it a little bit.
Nothing is 10 out of 10. There's no such thing as 10 out of 10. All right, on that note, I feel like we should actually finally wrap
Ricky,
it up for real.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on twitch.tv/BaconBeercan. I stream there 4 times a week, usually around 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And I mostly stream all sorts of games, mostly kind of weird Japanese games.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're interested in those, kind of niche type of Japanese games, stop by, come check it out. We can chat.
All right.
And yeah.
Cool. Thank you. And you can find me at twitch.tv/MojoCritical. I stream regularly, at least once a week, because we stream the Ludens Query Report that we do on this channel, and we talk about the gaming news that comes up every week, because every week there's always something new that comes up, some type of war going on Twitter that I observe from afar. I don't engage in it, but I am very entertained by it. And I bring the news to Ricky. He reacts to it, and we have interesting, fun discussion about it. So I stream that while we record it. And yeah, you can find both of us here at the Ludens Query channel. So give us a like if you enjoyed this review. I think in the future, because I enjoyed doing this review, we're going to be reviewing much more movies. And yeah, give us a subscribe. Subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, if you subscribe, press that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, give us a like. God, I hate saying that. And yeah, well, that's
what
it.
we got to do. So please do it. And yeah, this has been the Ludens Query podcast, the review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Highly recommend. Watch it a second time. Look at Tony Leung's eyes.
All right.
And on that note,
we'll see you later. I gotta take this jacket off. This thing's hot.
Peace out, Ludens. Keep playing.